how can we really know that doing good is our duty if, ever since we were born, we were already guided by external influences like our parents, friends, teachers, and the like? Is it safe to say that, since our actions on a day-to-day basis are already influenced by the guidance of others, we barely have any intact goodwill of our own? As a philosopher, Kant can be considered as a skeptic. However, due to his theories, Kant can also be considered as an absolutist. Which description would be a more fitting title for him? Wouldn't a person's personal universal maxim still be affected by what that person has gone through, even though it could still be universally applicable? People always have the tendency to forget about their universal maxims. If forgotten frequently enough, would it be enough of a reason to judge that certain person?
It is said that posteriori and priori is the same as one coin with two sides. Are these two equally important in gaining knowledge? Or they can be different if the universal validity of maxim is based, assuming that we as humans could be wrong. For clarification, Kant describes the autonomy of the will as a supreme principle of morality. Can we say that it is pure reason? Crafting our own imperatives for ourselves can possibly be just a product of our own selfishness, I can say. Is that considered as fake morality? Immanuel Kant says that morality is a duty. When one's culture, for instance, deals a situation contrary to a universal maxim, and it is also their duty, and one person wants to do good for goodness sake, either of the two duties, will there be a fulfillment? In Immanuel Kant's duty ethics, all of his arguments about it, is it necessarily true?
Is having second thoughts about things that must be done not qualified as goodwill? If doing something out of goodwill your whole life doesn't make you happy until you die, can you consider your life well lived? Does our autonomy of the will being influenced by our childhood environment? When can we say that we have exercised our autonomy of the will when we are molded and influenced by our environment since childhood? Do we have some sort of different types of autonomy? Can it be both owned and influenced? Is judicial law or the Philippine Constitution the result of universal validity of maxim? If not, then is it just forcibly imposed on the citizens?
How can someone have a goodwill in an action if that action itself doesn't make that person happy? If the goodwill then is not in conformity with happiness, why should people prioritize goodwill over happiness? It is said that we should not craft any imperative without considering its universal validity. And it is also said that we should craft our imperatives free from dictates of any external influence. Does that mean that this imperative is self-defeating because universal validity takes other people into consideration, which is an external influence? It is stated that humans have intrinsic capacity to know the principles of morality even without being told by anyone through autonomy of the will. Looking in the contemporary world, can we assume that people have a different sense of goodwill? What is the role of emotion in a goodwill-based action? It is certainly a maxim to not lie. But in a situation where a killer is looking for your friend residing in your house, do we still need to tell the truth even if the outcome is the death of that friend?
How does Kant fit emotion in his ethical system? For what reason is it so important for Kant to have synthetic a priori knowledge? Does anybody today care about synthetic a priori knowledge? Can we consider that acting as if the maxim of your action were to become by your will a universal law of nature in categorical imperative? Can there be rights without duties? How about duties without rights?
In the example given in the lecture video, where a group of gunmen are after your father, why is it better to kill the gunmen than to lie to save your father? In Immanuel Kant's teachings, is an act a good act when one helps someone with a different motive but then realized it was wrong? Is Immanuel Kant a relativist or an absolutist?
Immanuel Kant says that moral principles are acquired not through experience but rather in reason itself, therefore it is a priori. Does this disvalue the role of parenting in a child's learning and that we can expect a child to grow morally conscious even without a parent figure? Can it be said that a virtuous person is a person that is attaining the highest good of man, as Immanuel Kant discusses, since one does the act in virtue of doing good and not for the purpose of acquiring something through it? Immanuel Kant claims that rather than happiness, goodwill is a final good of man. Does that mean that a man who has served his purpose can die unhappy? If so, in what sense is that good? How can we advocate the importance of our government's centralized power while taking into consideration Immanuel Kant's notion on imperatives? Summing up Immanuel Kant's ideology, an individual should take it upon himself or herself to set his or her own imperatives for the reason of being capable of doing so, since moral principles are accordingly a priori. He further noted that doing otherwise will result in hypothetical imperatives, which in turn leads to inauthentic morality. Does this then mean that he ultimately opposes the whole concept of culture? If there is a situation wherein a friend asks for help to hide him in my house because he is in trouble, then few moments later a stranger with a gun knocks at our door searching for my friend, is it right to lie and tell the stranger that the person he is searching for is not in my house? Is keeping secrets from your loved one wrong? Is it right to change your child's attitude? If everyone is creating their own moral rules, then wouldn't people disagree on what is right and wrong?